The sad thing is that I actually find this funny. But what's also funny is the insane amount of stuff the devs managed to put into BeamNG 0.35. And today, I'll walk you through all of it, from the obvious changes down to the small but still meaningful improvements. But before that, let me remind you that all footage is from a pre-release version and that some things may be different when the update comes out. Also, if you find this video even remotely useful, please leave a like, because I haven't slept in 4 days. This is the remastered Hirochi Sunburst, and man, was it worth losing some sleep for. Being a remaster, it features a heavily updated 3D model, as well as brand new materials. But is it just me, or is something off? I'll give you 10 seconds to figure it out while I plug channel memberships. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time ever, an official BeamNG vehicle has a fuel door. Unfortunately, you can't open it, but still, this makes me really happy. And I hope it gets carried on to all other vehicular devices over the coming updates. But let's not get sidetracked, because if the updates to the exterior were big, then the ones on the interior were massive. Though to be fair, it's crazy that it looked like this until now. You can literally see the JPEG artifacts, like what the hell. And finally, the changes carry on under the hood, where the transverse mounted inline 4 is replaced by a longitudinal flat 4, just like its real life counterpart. And man, does it sound good. Now of course, being a remaster, it also features a fully updated J-beam and physics model, which, if you have the IQ of a tomato like myself, essentially means that it will now handle and crash more realistically. Plus, it also features many new customization parts, including this, a wagon body style. And all of this means the number of configurations goes from 20 to 39, which I am happy to report isn't only because of the addition of wagon body styles. In fact, if you exclude variations of the same config, we get about 7 brand new ones. Unfortunately though, we lose 3 configs from 0.34. The first 2 ones are pretty useless, I'm actually happy they're gone, but the last one is the hill climb config. Now, you could argue that the new track attack one replaces it, but I say no, solely based on the size of its aerodynamic appendages. So devs, please bring it back. But don't make the mistake of sleeping on the updated configs, such as the off-road one, which looks like something straight out of the Gambler update, the Pro Drift spec with its flipped livery, which, fun fact, isn't a mistake, but rather a reference to real-life drift liveries being mirrored, and the rally cars with their insane paint schemes. On the topic of liveries, I just want to say that whoever is in charge of livery designs over at BeamNG did an incredible job this time around. Like, I am genuinely impressed. Finally, going into this update, I was really scared they would remove my beloved CVT configurations. But I am extremely happy to report that they're still here. And there's actually more of them too. Plus, the actual CVT logic got completely revamped. But we'll talk about that later when we get to the medium-sized changes. Because now, it's time to discuss the updates to Rally Mode. Just a quick refresher, the Rally Mode preview was added in the previous update, and it was very basic. My biggest gripes were with the pace notes being too high up, making them unreadable without moving your eyes away from the road, as well as the fact that you actually had to read them, since there was no co-driver voice. Well, I am happy to report that both issues have been fixed. The pace note icons are now much lower than before, and in my opinion, much better looking, but honestly, who even cares at this point? Because you won't need to look at them ever again now that we have a co-driver voice.
5 left short, 60, double caution, 1 right long.
To be precise, there's actually 2 co-driver voices you can choose from.
The first note is 6 right short, over crest, good luck.
Here's the first note. 6 right short, over crest. Good luck.
I'm curious, let me know what you think about them in the comments. In my opinion, they're actually really good. So much so that they make me want to finally set up the handbrake I bought over a year ago. Though, we all know what's gonna have to happen in that video. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And finally, there are a couple new rally stages for you to lose your mental sanity on. Now, just as a reminder, rally mode is still very much a work in progress, so I recommend going into it with very low expectations. Now, the next big change is with the radial menu, which has been completely overhauled. I almost had a stroke the first time I saw it, since all the functions have been reorganized, but after using it for a couple hours, I'm actually starting to like it. It's now split into vehicle-related actions, including helper systems, lights, quick actions, vehicle features, and cruise control, and gameplay-related actions, like other, fun stuff, quick actions, manage vehicles, traffic, and there's also a new boost action, which pushes you forward, and a fling action, which essentially kills you. Other improvements include the visual style, which is consistent with the other new UI stuff they've been doing lately, and the fact that it now has full controller support, which feels great. And the final big feature is something me and you will probably never use: the Building Architect tool, which will allow the devs and the modding community to build maps much faster. And on the topic of maps, let's talk about the medium-sized changes, starting with the usual updates to West Coast USA. This time around, we get a brand new drift track, as well as updates to the drag strip, dirt track, and road network in general. Another map that has received an update is Hirochi Raceway, which now gets a new drag strip area. Talking about drag racing, there's also improvements to the drag racing system itself. There's a new user interface to display drag tree lights, though devs, I would suggest giving us the ability to lock certain UI elements, like the rev counter, and have them be the same across all UI configurations. Because this is how they look during a race, this is how they look during a drag race, and this is how they look during a drift event. It's pretty annoying. Then, the reaction time for AI opponents is now randomized, and finally, the naming system for the lanes is now numerical instead of being left or right, which could, I say could, maybe, potentially allow the creation of drag races with more than 2 lanes. Another gameplay aspect that has received an update is drifting. And one of these updates is actually my suggestion from last time. The sound effects would really bring all of this together.
A few moments later.
Yeah. The sound effects are amazing. And we also get a new UI element that shows the total drift score. Plus, there have also been a couple tweaks to the scoring system itself, as well as to the crash detection logic. Another logic that has been updated, man do these segues suck hard, is the CVT logic. There is now a sports mode for CVTs, which emulates actual gear ratios. Plus, the torque converter now locks based on user inputs. Whatever that means, I don't know, I just read the patch notes, which also say that the intelligence of AI traffic has been improved. AI cars now have improved awareness of road geometry, as well as better lane changing behavior and awareness of other vehicles. Apparently, AI is also better at racing, as they will now try avoiding vehicle-to-vehicle collisions and feature improved trajectory planning. There are new rally parts and configurations for these vehicular devices, and these parts include roof scoops, rally lights, and a whole bunch of other stuff. On top of rally parts, there's also new rally props, such as barriers, flags, signs, and I still don't believe it,
Baby Hay Bale Square. Holy shit.
this is just adorable, man. I'm gonna cry. Not because it's adorable, because it's 4 AM. What isn't so adorable is the brand new anti-lag system. If you know your stuff, this is a bypass type anti-lag system. Someone explain it in the comments, I guess. And it will automatically arm and disarm itself based on your inputs. All I know is that it does this. And last but definitely not least, there have been light refreshes to quite a few vehicles. I think there is a good chance we may go a very long time without an actual remaster, and we'll just get a couple refreshes here and there, which could be interesting for new vehicles. Anyways, now it is time for the small but still noticeable improvements, starting with the brand new liveries for the SP Dune Kicker, ETK 800, Hirochi SBR4, and Scherrier FCV. The Orbit camera now has dynamic pitching based on speed, which, I'll be honest, is kinda weird. Luckily though, you can turn this off in the camera settings. There's an updated replay app, as well as slight updates to the mission UI. The vehicle configurator UI has been finalized, as there is no more back to old UI button. Also, the map selector's top row now features your most recently used maps. Horns now have names. There's 2 new loading screen photos. And finally, versions of Windows older than Windows 10 will no longer be officially supported. And that was all for BeamNG 0.35. Now, as usual, there have probably been major improvements to Career Mode 2. In fact, one of the previous teasers actually showed some sort of vehicle performance index. But also as usual, I am completely avoiding it, as I want to play it once it's finally done. So if you want to know what's changed there, check out the patch notes linked in the description, alongside my horrible merch.